Junior doctors will follow other health workers and strike for 72 hours next month in a dispute over pay. 98% of those who voted backed the move. The British Medical Association said doctors were frustrated and angry. Joined now by the Minister for both Mental Health and Women's Health, Maria Caulfield. Hi, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Why are 98% of doctors who voted wrong?
Well, I'm not saying that they're wrong, and it's disappointing, absolutely, that they voted for strike action. But the BMA, specifically on junior doctor pay, are asking for around 26%, which is just not affordable. And junior doctors are in a different position to other healthcare workers in that they're not part of the independent pay review body process. They have a multi-year settlement, which was at 8.4% when it was last agreed. And what I would say to them is that we need to get back around the table in terms of negotiating their next pay settlement, because obviously pay is an issue, and junior doctors cover a range of doctors, from newly qualified doctors right through to those who are just about to become consultants. And so we do need to obviously want to talk to them about pay, but 26% is not something that realistically is achievable.
What is?
So that's why we want them to get around the table. When we did the last multi-year pay settlement and we settled at 8.4%, you absolutely took on board their points around pay and working conditions. But strike action is not going to resolve this. And particularly concerning is the issue around them not wanting to cover A&E and things like ITU. That will have an impact, a serious impact on patients. And so I would say to the BMA, come and talk to the government, look at the type of strike action that they're taking, and a multi-year settlement means that when they agree it, when it's first delivered, that's something that we can't undo right now.
First nurses, then ambulance workers, then call workers, now doctors. There's a common theme there, and the government's on the wrong side of this argument.
Well, it's impacting on all four nations where health is devolved. It's an issue in Wales, it's an issue in Scotland, Northern Ireland and England. So we're not seeing something in England, which is the area I'm responsible for, that isn't happening in other parts of the country. So pay is an issue, but we have a responsibility to the taxpayer as well. For every 1% of a pay rise we give, that's £700 million we have to find, and we can only find that in one of three ways. We either have to tax people more, which is something we absolutely do not want to do. We either have to borrow the money, which we saw the impact of doing that a few months ago when we borrow more than we can afford, or we have to take it out of existing budget, and that means frontline services.
As well. You've got an option as far as windfall taxes are concerned, aren't you?
We have brought in windfall taxes, and they're paying for people's energy support right now. So people who are getting, who have the energy price guarantee, the £400 people are getting off their energy bills, the £150 of council tax. The windfall tax is being used to pay for that. But let's be clear, a windfall tax is not going to pay for a 26% increase in pay for junior doctors.
And I asked you how much you wanted to offer them, and you can't say on live television. I get that. You were a nurse previously?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. How does this sit with you when your colleagues go on strike for the first time ever?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I was a nurse during the pay freeze and the pay cap, which we previously had to experience, and it is really difficult, particularly when the cost of living is high at the moment. So absolutely, and I don't think any nurse takes the decision to go on strike, and many nurses in England haven't taken that decision. Let's be clear. Less than half of trusts in this country have got nurses on strike. But any nurse who goes on strike, it's a very, very difficult decision, and they will be torn by doing that. But I know Pat well, and I have a lot of respect for Pat Cullen, and I would say to her that
the RCM.
Absolutely, and I would say to her to give England the same deal as she's giving Scotland. They've called off strikes in Scotland based on talks on pay for this forthcoming year from April. That's exactly the space that we're in, and I would say to Pat to do the same in England as she's done in Scotland, call off those strikes, and let's see if we can get a settlement for the forthcoming year's pay award.
So, having previously been a nurse, you know how much they struggle. They don't earn enough money.
No, absolutely it is a struggle, and no one goes into nursing not knowing that it's the wages aren't fantastic, and people do it because they love the job and they want to look after their patients. And if I'm not an MP, I'll go back to being a nurse. So absolutely, I understand the pressures that's being faced. But as a minister, I've also got responsible to the ordinary working people across the country that have to use their taxes to pay those wages. And, you know, £700 million for every 1% increase is something I have to justify in terms of which services that money is taken from.
Talk to me about HRT. And the fact that it's going to be cheaper for women to buy it. And also, what about those women who can't take it? What are you going to do for them?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think for too long, the impact on women of the menopause has been underestimated, that people think it's just simply your period stopping and a few hot flushes. And for many, many women, it's a lot more than that. It's debilitating. And many women don't actually realise they're going through the menopause, whether it's mood swings, whether it's brain fog, whether it's not sleeping, palpitations. And we're not talking about for a few days, weeks or months, years that women have to go through this. HRT is
Singing
working.
to the choir here, sister.
Absolutely. And, you know, HRT works significantly well in a huge number of women. And we're almost victims of our own success, that we've seen a 50% increase in the number of women taking HRT. And sometimes that does put pressure on supplies. But reducing the cost, we do not want, as the government, cost to be a barrier to women starting HRT, knowing the difference that it can make. But HRT isn't for everyone. Some women don't want to take it for a variety of reasons. They may be on other health conditions or medication. For some women, it doesn't work, despite trying numerous types of HRT.
Breast
for some
cancer
women,
concerns?
Yeah, and for some women, they get side effects as well. So there are other kind of treatment options for HRT as well. And that's why we're setting up one-stop well women clinics across the country, so that women can get expert advice. There's doctors, there's nurses, there's practitioners who are experts in the menopause. And we want women to be able to access those services, so that if HRT isn't working for them, that they have other options and they can get the help and advice that they need.
How helpful is it that people like Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, almost forgot her name, are talking about jets for Ukraine from the sidelines? I mean, that's not helpful, is it?
Well, I think, you know, obviously Boris did a lot for Ukraine in terms of generating the initial support when the conflict started. But, you know, Rishi has been very clear he wants to support Ukraine further. And in fact, he's getting allies from around the world to try and increase the support that's for Ukraine. And he is talking to the Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace, about what planes could be available. But we have to make sure that these are planes that can be used relatively quickly. What we don't want is to give them planes that take months of training for their pilots to use. So those discussions are happening behind the scenes, but absolutely our full support is behind Ukraine. We're coming up to the year's anniversary on Friday, and there'll be a minute's silence at 11 o'clock to commemorate that.
Where? Around the country?
Around the country, and people can take some time out to remember that and the impact it's having on all our lives, and not just the people of Ukraine. But absolutely, those discussions are going on behind the scenes about how we can support them further.
Other discussions going on behind the scenes, Northern Ireland Protocol. We're going to get a deal this week.
I don't know about this week. I know that the Prime Minister is working really hard and working with a number of politicians from across Northern Ireland, politicians within the EU, to try and resolve this. The Northern Ireland Protocol isn't working for Northern Ireland right now, and it does need to be resolved. It's a key reason why there's no functioning assembly and government in Northern Ireland. That's not great for the people of Northern Ireland. Health, we just talked about the menopause. Health is a devolved matter in Northern Ireland. What we're introducing here to reduce costs of hormone replacement therapy here can't be done in Northern Ireland at the moment, because there's no functioning government. So it's having a day-to-day impact on people's lives, and it's a key priority for the Prime Minister.
Let me squeeze one in very quickly. You're a woman of the world. Kate Forbes, who wants to be the next First Minister in Scotland, saying that she would not have backed same-sex marriage. 1970s on the phone.
Well, you know, that's a matter for the SNP to decide who they want to be their next leader. Look, I'm personally supportive of equal marriage. I voted for it actually for Northern Ireland the last time their assembly was out.
Sure.
And Westminster had to take that decision. But it is a matter for the SNP, and then it'll be a matter for the people of Scotland whether they decide that the leader that they then have is someone they want to continue with.
Great to see you. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.